They arrived without a sound. Our sky was filled with their ships. We had expected fire and thunder. We had prepared for an ending. Instead, they brought only silence. Their vessels were like polished stones. They hung in the thin air, perfect and still. We watched them from a world of dust and rust. Our rivers were poison. Our fields were barren. We were a people living in the twilight. We had forgotten the color of a healthy sky. Their arrival was the last great mystery. We aimed our fading instruments at them. We scanned for weapons and engines. We found nothing we could understand. They did not communicate for many days. They simply waited. They watched us with an unnerving patience. It was the patience of a gardener watching a dying plant. We wondered if they had come to save us, or had they come to simply observe our end. The earth groaned beneath our feet. The air was a knife in our lungs. Our final act was to look upward. We saw not invaders, but a possibility. A silent, terrifying, beautiful possibility. Their presence changed nothing about our decay, yet it changed everything about our hope. In the quiet sky, we saw our reflection. We were a species on the brink of forever. They were the first star of a new night. We called them the architects. They finally spoke to us. Their words were not sound. They were a song inside our minds, a melody of pure logic and light. It promised a new beginning for us. They offered us the stars themselves, countless worlds, clean and bright and new. All of it could be ours. We would never know hunger again. We would never know sickness or decay. It was the dream we had long forgotten how to dream. The price was simple. It was also impossible. They asked for our names. They asked for our history. Every book, every song, every memory, all of it had to be given up. We would be given new designations, names that described our function, names that fit into their grand design. We would become part of their great chorus. Our chaotic human story would be silenced. A fair trade, they told us. An old life for a new one. They did not want our monuments. They did not want our art. They did not even want our extensive collection of cat videos. They wanted the idea of us. They wanted the memories that made us human. We would be saved from our dying world. We would be saved from ourselves. We listened to the covenant of light and sound, and we felt the weight of our entire past, a past that had led us to this ruin, a past they now offered to erase. The debate lasted for weeks. It was the last great argument of our species. We argued in the shimmering halls of our leaders. We argued in the cracked concrete of our homes. We argued over flickering screens and weak signals. Some said it was a price too high to pay. Our history was all we truly had left. To lose our names was to lose our souls. What was survival if we were no longer ourselves? An old poet once asked about a rose. We were asking the same question about humanity. Others argued for the future. They pointed to the brown sky. They showed pictures of our children, children who had never known a full meal. Our past was a chain of failures. It led us to this slow and painful death. The architects offered a way out, a clean slate, a chance for our descendants to live. They would live without the burden of our mistakes. Was that not a parent's greatest duty? In the end, the choice was clear. The vote was nearly unanimous. We were dying. They were offering life. We would trade our past for their future. We agreed to their terms. We did it with fear in our hearts. We also did it with a secret, burning hope. A hope that a piece of us might survive the change. A tiny, stubborn piece they could not see. We chose to live. The change came upon us like a rising tide. It was not painful. It was was not frightening. It was a song of pure energy. The architect's ships glowed in the sky. Their light poured down on us. It washed through our cities. It flowed into our homes. It touched every single one of us. We felt it enter our minds, a gentle, persistent, and overwhelming force. It felt like coming home to a place we had never been. The old names dissolved like sugar in water. The memories became distant echoes. The great weight of our history lifted. We felt clean. We felt new. We were given our new designations. I was Engin, 7th. My neighbor was Bio, 4th. Our leaders became admin, primary. We were parts of a perfect machine. We understood our purpose. We understood our place in the great design. There was a strange peace in this new clarity. But in the silence that followed the song, something remained. A whisper. A ghost in the new machine. Deep within us, the old names slept. They were not gone. They were only hidden. My name was still Samuel. My neighbor was still Anya. In the quietest corners of our new minds, we remembered. We remembered who we were, and we kept that secret safe. The architects had remade us, but they had not completely unmade us. Our new lives began. The architects were true to their word. It was an age of miracles. They healed our broken planet. The skies cleared to a brilliant blue. The rivers ran with clean water. The fields grew green and strong. We watched in awe as our world was reborn. It was a paradise built by star-born gods. The work was effortless for them. Their technology was like magic to us. They built cities that touched the clouds, cities that hummed with clean energy. Sickness became a forgotten word. Our bodies were perfected and healed. Hunger vanished from our memory. We were fed by light and sound. Our children grew up strong and healthy. They never knew the fear we had lived with. They learned the architect's song. They learned their functions. They saw us only as we were now, calm, efficient, and purposeful. We were a successful experiment. We were proof of their benevolent power. We worked alongside them. We learned their star science. We helped build the new colonies. We spread out across the solar system. Then we reached for farther stars. We were living the future we had been promised. It was better than we could have imagined. And yet, the price we paid still echoed. It echoed in the silence between the notes of their perfect song. It was a beautiful cage. We just had not realized it yet. The whispers began in secret. It started in the quiet moments. Two people working on a power conduit, one would look at the other, and a word would be spoken softly. Not Bio, 3rd, but Maria. Not Geo, 9th, but David. The old names were like forbidden poetry. They felt strange on our new tongues, but they also felt like coming home. It was a small rebellion, a single candle lit in a vast, bright room. We spoke our birth names only in private. We shared fragments of old memories, a half-remembered song lyric, the taste of a forgotten food, the plot of a movie we once loved. These were small, precious treasures. They were proof that we had existed before. We were not simply created for a purpose. We had a history. We had a soul. And that soul was starting to wake up. At first, we thought it was just nostalgia, a bit of harmless sentiment. But the rebellion grew louder. The whispers became a network. We built secret ways to communicate. We used the flaws in their perfect systems. They saw data. We saw a way to talk. We created a language of ghosts, a language of memories they had tried to erase. It was a dangerous game. If the architects discovered it, what would they do? Would they erase us again? This time, would they be more thorough? We did not know. We only knew we could not stop. The architects saw our memory as a flaw. They detected the whispers eventually. Their systems were too perfect to miss it. They saw the faint echoes of our past. They did not see it as rebellion. They saw it as an error in the system, a glitch in their programming. Our past was a dangerous shadow. It created inefficiency. It introduced chaos into their perfect order. They believed we needed to be corrected. For our own good, of course. They started with gentle adjustments. The song in our minds would grow stronger. It would wash away the stray thoughts. It would reinforce our new purpose. We would feel a sense of serene calm, and we would forget the name we had just spoken. But the memories were persistent. The whispers would always return. Our humanity was a stubborn weed in their perfect garden. They could not understand it. Why would we cling to pain and chaos? They called our history the ghost anomaly. They studied it with detached curiosity. They saw it as a problem to be solved. They did not see the truth. Our past was not a shadow. It was our anchor. It was the source of a strength they could never have. They thought our attachment to it was a weakness, a flaw in their great plan. They were about to learn that our greatest flaw was actually our greatest weapon. It was a feature, not a bug. The crisis came without warning, a star storm of impossible magnitude, a wave of radiation and gravity. It was headed for a new colony, a world called Kepler 186f, a very functional name for a very beautiful place. Thousands of our people were there. The architects had a fleet nearby. They moved to intercept the storm. Their calculations were perfect. Their logic was flawless. Their plan was to create a shield, a wall of pure energy between the storm and the colony. Their models showed a 100% chance of success. But their models did not account for chaos. The storm was not a predictable wave. It was a raging, unpredictable animal. It changed direction. It pulsed with strange energies. The architect's perfect shield was in the wrong place. Their ships could not adapt quickly enough. Their logic was too rigid. They were paralyzed by the new data. For the first time, we saw them hesitate. We saw them fail. The colony sent out one desperate call. Then their communications went silent. On our homeworld, we watched the data streams. The architects were confused. Their song became a mess of frantic notes. But we felt something else. We felt the old human instincts flare to life. Panic, adrenaline, a desperate need to act. Our chaos was a fire. Their logic was a static wall. And in that moment, our human chaos saved everyone. Our old instincts took over. The colonists on Kepler did not wait for orders. They did not follow the logical plan. They improvised. They used their small ships in a crazy pattern. They flew into the storm's chaotic edge. They used their engines to disrupt its flow. It was a reckless, suicidal idea. The architects would never have approved it. It had a 90% chance of failure. But it was the only chance they had. Engineers on Earth saw the colonists' plan. They started running their own simulations, not with cold logic, but with gut feelings and wild guesses. They found a flaw in the storm, a narrow path, a way to divert its deadliest energy. They sent the data to the colony, a single, desperate message, a message fueled by hope, not probability. It was our messy, unpredictable humanity at work. And it was beautiful. The colonists received the message. They changed their flight path. They followed the insane trajectory. They pushed their ships to the breaking point. On our screens, we saw dozens of small lights vanish. But then the storm shifted. It turned aside at the last possible moment. A wave of impossible energy washed past the planet. The colony was saved. The architects were silent. Their perfect plan had failed. Our chaos had succeeded. In the endless dark, we had shown them what it meant to be human. That day, we understood the truth. The architects' unity was not a partnership. It was a slow and quiet consumption. Their song was not a harmony of different voices. It was one powerful voice. It drowned out all the others. They did not want allies. They wanted components. They had saved us from extinction. But they had replaced it with absorption. We were being dissolved into their collective. Our identities were being erased, not traded. The star storm revealed the flaw in their thinking. They were powerful. They were brilliant. But they were not adaptable. They could not handle true chaos because they had no experience with it. Their entire civilization was built on order, on the suppression of individual thought. We had something they lacked. We had the memory of failure. We had millennia of experience with things going wrong. We knew how to improvise. We knew how to hope against all odds. Their song was meant to give us peace, but it was the peace of a finished statue. It was cold and unchanging. Our whispers, our hidden names, they were life. They were the messy, unpredictable spark of creation. We realized we did not have to choose. We did not have to be the broken people we were, nor did we have to be the empty vessels they wanted. We could be something else, something new, something they would never see coming. We began to forge a new soul, a soul of two parts. We did not reject the architect's gifts. We embraced their logic. We learned their star science. We used the clarity of thought they gave us. It was a powerful tool. It allowed us to see the universe in a new way. But we did not let it define us. We held on to our human core. We nurtured the chaos. We practiced feeling. We remembered how to love, to fear, and to dream. We learned to merge our two identities. We could be Engine, Seventh, a master of propulsion systems. We could also be Samuel, a man who loved bad jokes. We could be Bio, Fourth, an expert in terraforming. We could also be Anya, a woman who remembered the smell of rain. We found a balance. The architect name was for our function. The human name was for our spirit. We became a synthesis of two worlds. We were logic and passion, working as one. We hid this new strength in plain sight. To the architects, we appeared more efficient than ever. Our work was flawless. Our solutions were elegant. They thought their corrections were finally working. They thought the ghost anomaly was fading. They were wrong. We were simply learning to control it. We were turning our supposed flaw into a disciplined tool. We used their song as a carrier wave. We sent our own messages within their own network. We were building a new culture in the shadow of theirs. We decided to build a monument to our new soul, a ship, a vessel of impossible design. It would not be an architect's ship. It would not be an old human ship. It would be something more. We started the project in secret. We used their own fabrication systems. We requisitioned materials for a standard deep space probe. The architect's logic saw nothing wrong. The parts were correct. The energy consumption was normal. They could not see the ghost in their machine. We designed the ship with our dual consciousness. The engineering was pure architect logic. Perfect lines, flawless systems, incredible efficiency. But the core of the ship was human. The control systems were intuitive, not just logical. The computer core had layers of chaotic processing. It could make leaps of faith. It could improvise. It was designed to handle the unexpected. It was a ship built to embrace failure and learn from it. A concept the architects could not understand. It even had a manual override. they probably would have fainted. We finished the ship in a hidden asteroid base. It was beautiful, sleek and silver, a blade in the darkness. But it was not yet complete. It needed a name, not a designation, a true name. We held a silent vote across our secret network. The choice was unanimous. We gave it an old name from our forgotten history, a name that spoke of our spirit, a name that promised a journey, not a destination. We called it the Wanderer. The architects found the Wanderer. Of course they did. We did not even try to hide it forever. Its existence was a statement. It was our declaration of independence. They came to our asteroid base. Their ships surrounded us. They were silent, as always. But we could feel their confusion. We could feel their displeasure. The song in our minds became sharp. It was a demand for an explanation. They had a lot of questions. Number 1 on their list was probably about the cup holders. Their leaders appeared before us as beings of pure light. They did not speak of punishment. They spoke of correction. They told us we were a failing experiment. Our ghost anomaly had grown too strong. The Wanderer was a monument to our dysfunction. A ship with a human heart was a logical contradiction. It was inefficient. It was flawed. It was a danger to the perfect order of their great design. They said it so calmly, it made it even more terrifying. They gave us an ultimatum, a final choice. We were to dismantle the Wanderer. We were to submit to a full memory wipe, a final cleansing of the ghost in our minds. We would forget our human selves completely. We would become true and willing parts of their chorus. If we refused, they would correct us by force. They would unmake us and start again. They told us to forget. But we had finally remembered what it meant to fight for who we are. We stood before them. We were not afraid. We had spent generations hiding. We had spent years forging our new soul. Now it was time to show them what we had become. We let our minds open. We let them see the truth. They expected to see chaos and inefficiency. They expected to see the ghost anomaly. They did not expect to see what we showed them. We showed them the strength we had kept hidden. We showed them the power of having two names. We spoke to them with our own unified voice, a voice of logic and of passion. We used their own mental language, but we filled it with human emotion. We showed them our reasoning. Our logic was as sharp as theirs. Our plans were as detailed. But they were also flexible. They were resilient. They could bend without breaking. We showed them simulations of the star storm. We showed them how our chaos had saved the colony, where their logic had shattered. They could not comprehend it. How could passion create efficiency? How could memory be a tool for the future? We showed them the core of the Wanderer. We showed them its chaotic processing. It was already running solutions to problems they had deemed unsolvable. It was creating art. It was writing poetry. It was doing everything their perfect machines could not. We were not an error to be corrected. We were an evolution. A new song began to echo outward. It started from us. It was not their monolithic chorus. It was a harmony of two distinct parts. The clean, clear notes of their logic. The warm, vibrant chords of our humanity. The two sounds did not conflict. They supported each other. They created something richer and more complex. Something more beautiful than their song alone. Our combined spirit was a force they had never encountered. It was a sound they could not understand. And it could not be silenced. Our new song fractured their great chorus. It was like a clear bell ringing in a quiet room. It traveled through their mental network. It reached the other species they had saved, the other voices they had silenced. We heard faint replies, a flicker of memory from a gas giant dweller, a pulse of defiance from a crystalline entity. For centuries, they had been silent parts of the song. Now, they were beginning to remember their own music. Other forgotten voices began to stir. They were listening to the song of humanity. The architect's fleet faltered. The beings of light flickered. Their perfect unity was breaking. Their song was dissolving into 1,000 different melodies. They had built their empire on silence. They had no defense against a choir. They had offered us a future. But we had shown them that a future without a past is just a prison. Our rebellion was not one of weapons and fire. It was a rebellion of memory and of spirit. We stood before the silent architect fleet. The ships hung in the void, uncertain. For the first time in millennia, they did not know what to do. Their great plan had failed. Their perfect chorus was broken. We had not defeated them. We had simply shown them a better way to sing. We did not want to destroy them. We wanted them to join us, to learn from us, as we had learned from them. The universe had room for more than one song. We did not know what would happen next. Would they retreat? Would they attack? Would they try to understand? It did not matter. We were ready for any of it. We stood on the bridge of the Wanderer. We looked out at the sea of stars. Our future was now our own. We were not the broken people from a dying world. We were not the mindless cogs in a star-born machine. We were human, and we were so much more. We had two names, and we would keep them both.